This is ABC15 Mornings.
Arizona schools reacting to the recent spike in coronavirus cases and working to avoid any major outbreaks. We're going to have the latest school closures for you this morning.
Plus, a door-to-door effort of visiting communities hit hardest by the virus, lending a helping hand to those who are struggling financially.
Sports venues across the valley have seen few fans in 2020, but now they're offering up all of that extra space to help create a safe space for voters. Really unique partnership that we're seeing across the valley. So we're going to list it all off for you and give you more places to let your voice be heard. 6 o'clock now on this Saturday morning. We're so glad to see you bright and early. I'm Nohelani Graff.
And I'm Mark Thompson, social distancing from home. And hey, I'm looking forward, well, to a lot of things really, like getting outside when it's not so hot to be able to exercise, taking a walk, those types of things. And also maybe some rain. That would be nice.
Definitely. And this is the time where a lot of outer towners, like our snowbirds, they kind of chuckle a little bit because they see the Phoenicians, and this is when we're probably going to see some boots come out. We'll see some jackets, maybe even a few sweatshirts out there, because for us, we really feel every degree that it's going to drop. So here's what we can expect, and it starts this weekend. Those temperatures are dropping. We've got our first fall storm of the season, which means wind, rain here in the valley, and snow in the high country. So started off with having that coffee or tea out on the patio this morning. Open up the windows. We're dropping into the 60s over the next hour here. Then we'll be back in the 70s by 8 and staying there through the mid-morning hours. Sunrise is at 6:40 this morning. And then we top out in the upper 80s today. The 80s make their return. Tomorrow, mid-80s and a few more breezes. Then our rain chances start to move in. So we'll talk more about that, what you can expect coming up in that full, most accurate forecast. We want to start you off this hour with a traffic alert. If you're heading out early this morning, I-10 is back open near 7th Street. The westbound lanes were closed due to a serious crash involving a motorcycle. DPS telling us one person did have to be taken to the hospital with a critical head injury. We're working to get more information, though, on what led up to that motorcycle crash.
Now to a developing story and an apparent case of road rage. This was in the middle of a Phoenix street. It all happened yesterday near 19th Avenue and Southern. That's where police say that the drivers of two cars got into an argument. Shots were fired, and one of those cars went crashing into a fence. That driver was shot and rushed to the hospital with very serious injuries. We're told that the other driver called 911 and waited for police to arrive. Investigators now sorting out what happened here before announcing any arrests.
Last night, a big show of support in Mesa. Family and friends gathered to remember a man who was recently shot and killed by police.
I raised that little boy, and he was a good boy. I just want answers and justice for him.
A vigil for Angel Benitez held near Extension and Broadway. The unarmed man killed by officers last month as they were telling him to get out of a stolen car. Police say Benitez reached for his waistband, and that's when they opened fire.
Well, this next video may be a little bit difficult to watch, but this is the type of police action that is now coming under quite a bit of scrutiny. Take a look here. This is Mesa SWAT officer Aaron Pugh. This is in March of 2018. He's one of 3 officers on top of Cole Spencer as they repeatedly knee punch and tase him. Pugh even wraps his hands around Spencer's neck, trying to make him unconscious. Spencer, now in prison, says all of this force, potentially deadly force, was excessive after they already had him pinned face down on the ground. Spencer has filed a federal civil rights lawsuit.
This guy Pugh, he sadistically inflicted all this onto me. I want him to be held accountable like I'm held accountable.
Mesa police, they're defending the use of force in court, saying Spencer was high on drugs and had assaulted an officer by shoving him and trying to run away. Officer Pugh has 4 other complaints of excessive force or unnecessary force during nearly 9 years as an officer. Mesa police say that he was cleared in every instance and he is in good standing.
I'm sorry, but
Get away from me! Get away from me!
Boy, tough to forget this one. Screaming and shoving from an HOA board member. That was back in January, but somehow the drama surrounding Val Vista Lakes is still ramping up. So this time, our ABC15 Zach Crenshaw is in Gilbert with more on the trouble in Paradise.
Val Vista Lakes.
It's almost like an all-inclusive resort,
where people are proud of their property.
This is a Southern California design landscape. It's unique.
So is the feud surrounding the HOA.
There's a smoldering anger in this community.
Get away from me!
We experienced it in January. This board member upset we were asking questions about their proposed social media policy, which threatened to fine residents for negative Facebook comments about the board. So it didn't pass. But the board
issued cease and desist letters to 9 selected individuals and threatened them with daily fines.
What did the community do?
Had a successful recall election. We took out the bad actors.
Just when everyone thought it was over, the screaming had subsided and the angry Facebook posts were done, a civil lawsuit was filed. 3 women suing at least 20 of their neighbors. Citing mostly critical online comments, they claim they're victims of defamation, invasions of privacy, and emotional distress.
Baseless harassment, intimidation.
Both Jim Schmidt and Steve Nielsen are being sued. They're also spending tons of time,
2 to 3 hours a day,
and money. In Steve's case, $15,000 to elect 6 new board members this November.
Yeah, I've been getting postage in the mail and kind of been reading through it, and it sounds like there's a big argument going on.
At this point, you're probably thinking,
it's just an HOA.
But not for Val Vista Lakes. You can have your presidential exit polls. They've got an HOA to fight over.
This election here in Val Vista Lakes is one of the most important.
Zach Crenshaw, ABC15, Arizona.
So the election of the new board members will happen by late November. Neighbors say for months now, there has been strategizing by both sides to try and hold on to the power.
Now to the very latest on the coronavirus here in Arizona. For the first time since August, the average number of new daily COVID-19 cases now above 900 in our state. 976 cases reported on Friday alone, bringing the total number of cases in our state to just under 236,000. And those rising numbers are having a dramatic impact on schools, as now thousands of students, teachers, and staff, they are back in quarantine. And Madison No. 1 Middle School in Phoenix, it was affected. It's now closed for the next 2 weeks after 4 confirmed cases of coronavirus, also announcing closures. Cholla Elementary School in Casa Grande and both Gila Bend High School and Elementary School. And we're also learning the Scottsdale Unified School District is discussing the possibility of closing some schools as cases in surrounding neighborhoods continue to rise. Chaparral High School alone is reporting 23 cases, adding to 18 cases reported last week. These are just the latest schools to report outbreaks. And we've put together a dashboard tracking COVID-19 cases in schools across the state. You can check out your child's school district right now by going to abc15.com/school.
We do have some good news for you this morning when it comes to the battle against the horse fire in Yavapai County. Evacuations have now been lifted in Crown King and other surrounding areas. The fire, though, has burned 9,500 acres so far, and it is 63% contained. Now, firefighters will be getting a little bit of help in the way of rain and snow levels dropping throughout the weekend, but today they're going to have to work around winds. So here's where our Valley Planner shapes up. Today we're starting off in the 70s. We'll be in the 80s by noon, upper 80s by 4. That's where we top out. Mostly cloudy skies today in the valley. Tomorrow we'll see a few more sun breaks, very similar warm up hour by hour, staying in the mid 80s. Also, our breezes are calm today, but they'll really start to pick up Sunday as we have storm chances moving in Sunday night. So that forecast high today, 87 degrees. The average is 85. So we're finally getting closer to where we should be for this time of year. And for once, we are well away from the record, which was 99 degrees set back in 2017. So I'm going to talk more about the storm that's moving in, how much rain we could be looking at, when it's likely to get here in the valley, and also those high country snow chances coming up in that full forecast in just a few moments.
All right, it is 6:10 now on your Saturday morning. Coming up, how polls nationwide are adapting in the middle of a pandemic to help the millions of Americans that are relying on voter assistance. And still ahead, one Valley man warning others to take COVID seriously after he became hospitalized following a night out. Welcome back to Your Voice, Your Vote. Now, the deadline has officially passed to request a mail-in ballot. So if you want to vote in the November 3rd election, now you have to visit a polling location in person to cast your ballot. Now, if you did request your ballot in time, you have until October 27th to send that back in by mail. You can also drop it off at any polling location through Election Day. Well, you've heard so many messages out there encouraging people to get out and vote, but that's a lot easier said than done for a lot of people, especially if they have vision and hearing problems. Let's get some more information now from Doug Reardon. He looks at this issue as people now are headed to the polls.
Around 32 million American adults experience some form of vision loss. Another 48 million experience some loss of hearing. Aside from the stressors of everyday life, elections are an especially tough time to navigate for that large part of the electorate.
There's a lot of information that's received that is confusing and conflicting. So, what do you do?
Rowan O'Doherty is board president of the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Services in Grand Rapids. O'Doherty says there isn't a whole lot of information on accessible voting for his community. When it comes to communication, like translators at the polls,
I've never seen one.
And with poll workers now wearing masks to protect against COVID-19, communication just got a lot harder. If poll workers can't get a hold of clear masks,
they need to understand that it needs to be completely visual, to not depend on the noise.
So O'Doherty says poll workers should be writing things down and being specific to communicate when needed, because in person or absentee, everybody deserves their vote.
I cannot tell you the feeling of excitement and exhilaration to be able to cast my own ballot.
For blind voters, Chair Austin with the Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired says voting in person isn't always the easiest task.
It also has Braille, and the voter can listen to the ballot and can vote that way.
The county does place one assisted voting machine at each precinct, but
you may not always remember how to use it. Sometimes the machine doesn't work as well as you would like it to.
So to poll workers, Austin recommends knowing the technology, even expecting to have to use it, and be ready to make privacy a priority.
I would make sure that the voter assist machine is set up in a place where no one else can watch you. The machine might be set in the middle of the room, and anybody who's walking in can see you vote. That's something that is not appreciated by anyone.
And Austin says voters with vision loss can always print out an accessible ballot. But Austin and O'Doherty both stress in an election year already fraught with tension, patience from election workers and other voters will be key.
Because it's an overwhelming time. So we have to do what we have to do.
That was Doug Reardon reporting. Maricopa County lists all of its information about voting assistance on its website. You can also call this number. It is 602-506-1511. Again, that number is 602-506-1511. And for more information about deaf and hard of hearing assistance resources, you can go to signvote.org, as in sign language, signvote.org.
Time now, 6:15 on this Saturday morning. Let's get to that most accurate forecast. Big cool down is coming, and boy, have we earned this one. We were in the 90s to end the work week. Now this weekend, we're down into the 80s, and to start the new work week, we will be in the 70s. So let's start with this morning. We've got some very cold spots up in the high country. The Grand Canyon has dropped down to 28 degrees. We're still in the upper 30s in Flagstaff. We got upper 50s in Show Low, mid mid-50s in Safford and low 50s in Prescott and Payson, with 60s and 70s to our south and west. Here in the valley, Phoenix Sky Harbor is sitting at 70 degrees right now, but we've got cooler temperatures than that. 65 now in Glendale, 69 in Tempe, 64 in Chandler, same temperature out in Maricopa. It's 68 degrees in Santan Valley, and we're in the upper 60s in Anthem as well this morning. And I think our temperature will dip just a little bit further over the next hour as we get closer to that 7 o'clock hour and sunrise this morning, which is at 6:40. Then we're back in the 70s and lingering there through 10. It'll take us until 11 o'clock to finally warm even into the 80s, and we will stay in the 80s today, topping out at 87 degrees for the Phoenix metro area, 87 in our far west valley areas and the southeastern portion of the valley. North Valley, we're more in the mid 80s in Fountain Hills, low 80s in Cave Creek, as well as Anthem today. Wickenburg also topping out at 82 degrees, and we're finally within a degree or two of the average. A little bit warmer off to our west, upper 80s from Yuma on up through Bullhead City, getting close to 90 in Lake Havasu City today, staying in the 70s in Prescott, Payson, and Sedona, lower end of the 70s for Prescott, and north of the rim we'll be in the 60s today at the Grand Canyon and in Flagstaff, staying in the 70s in Window Rock, Heber, and Show Low. Now, Futurecast showing us we're going to have mostly cloudy conditions statewide today. As we move into Sunday, we'll see a few more sun breaks, but by Sunday at noon, we start to see the first rounds of just light amounts of rain across the high country, getting more likely for rain chances in that 7 o'clock hour, and that's when we could start to see a few showers in portions of the north and eastern valley and the higher terrain areas. More likely to see more rain in those overnight hours, snow starting after 10 o'clock across the high country and carrying us through Monday. So if you're in Flagstaff or heading there this weekend, today is your better day if you want to avoid any of the rain or snow and do a day trip. But it will be breezy today and tomorrow. Then those rain chances move in Sunday evening, and by Monday we're likely to see snow showers. And the major temperature dip that's going to happen in the high country, 38 will be the forecast high come Monday for Flagstaff. So big change there. Here in the valley, we're staying in the 80s all weekend with our rain chances starting to move in late tomorrow night, more likely in the very early morning hours of Monday, and our temperatures dropping into the 70s on Monday and Tuesday. Also, when you wake up on Tuesday morning, so overnight tonight, overnight Sunday, when you wake up Tuesday morning, our temperatures are going to be in the 50s, lows in the 50s. So that means after we have spent months and months in triple digits, you are going to want to find those longer pants, the jackets, and maybe even a sweater. But I think that we're all ready for it. So we'll talk about how long the 70s will last into that 7-day forecast and how much rain we're expecting here in the valley. That's coming up in your 7-day in just a little bit, Mark.
All right, no, thank you. 6:19 now. It's your Saturday morning. Up next, who's hungry? It's never too early to make some Halloween treats, right? And we're sharing some great recipes coming up right after the break.
Thanks for watching ABC15 Arizona, streaming 24/7 on Roku and these streaming devices.
Halloween celebrations are going to be a little different for some families this year. A lot of folks are planning to have smaller celebrations with just the family, but that doesn't mean that you can't go big on the food. So Chef O is joining us from Fry's Cooking School this morning to show us some fun, spooktacular recipes that you can do right at home. Hey, Chef O, thanks for being with us.
Hey, happy Halloween. Nice to be here.
Halloween. So, of course, it's all about the sweets and the treats. So we're going to make a sweet treat today. Tell me what we're making and get us started.
We are. Okay, let me get down to business here. So we're going to make some pumpkin panna cotta, and I'm going to finish them off in a scary eyeball effect. So we have our cream, and in our cream, we're going to heat this up, and we're going to add in some sugar, some spices, some nutmeg, and some allspice in there. A little vanilla, of course, makes a nice round flavor. A pinch of salt, you always want to add salt. And then we have our fresh grated ginger. So that's going to go into our cream and heat that up.
Now, if you don't have fresh ginger, is it okay to use a powdered ginger as a substitute, or better to go without?
No, definitely use the powdered ginger. Just remember that it's going to be a little stronger, so you want to dial it down a little bit.
Okay.
And then to set a panna cotta, it's a gelatin. So we're going to take our gelatin, unsweetened, regular gelatin, and we're going to sprinkle that on top of our water, and that's blooming the gelatin. Okay, so once that's all bloomed, then we're going to mix that in as well with our cream and let that dissolve completely. And if there's no more grit on your fingertips, then you're ready to go.
Okay. Now I pre-made mine, so it feels okay. So I think I'm ready to join you with the next step.
Ready to go, yep. So then we're just gonna slowly whisk that in. So in this bowl here, I have my pumpkin and my yogurt that I've already mixed together, a cup of each. And then we're gonna slowly mix this warmed milk mixture in. Oh, hang on, my trivet's getting in my way here.
I'm doing the same. I'm putting
Let's get that out of our way.
my pumpkin together, and then I'm going to add in the other mixture.
Yep. And you just want to, keep whisking that until it's all incorporated nice and smooth. So here's another chef tip for you. Okay. If you're not sure if all your gelatin dissolved, because sometimes little tiny lumps will get in there, you can strain this through a sieve, and that'll make your panna cotta extra smooth and creamy.
Ooh, okay.
So then you're just going to spoon this into whatever vessel you want. So I just have some small bowls here. And then that just sets in the fridge 2 to 4 hours, even overnight. You can make this ahead. And then you can decorate it however you want. So I did a little spooky eyeball effect here.
I made 2 little bitty eyeballs with a banana
nice.
and the red raspberry.
Nice.
And then I cheated and put a chocolate chip in the center for the eyeball, but yours look really good. That's the whole thing.
Excellent. Okay, so we have what we call the black cauldron brew here. So this is a milkshake for grown-ups. So we have some nice stout. We're going to go in with some stout here. And then we're going to give it a shot of vodka. Like I said, this is for adults. And then a little coffee, about a tablespoon of coffee. And then to finish it off, your ice cream float, of course, your ice cream. Just mix that all up. Cut some grapes and freeze those up, and you have some fun eyeballs you can throw in there.
Very cool. And finally, you have just a couple other little side dishes for us really quickly.
So instead of just cheese and crackers, we have a little snack dessert charcuterie board here. So when you're putting a board together, you want to think of color blocking. So I have things kind of broken up by color. And then you want it to move on your board. So not just, one pile here or there.
So if we want to find these recipes, and I know that you guys also teach cooking classes at Fry's, how do we get involved?
Yes, so the Fry's Cooking School, we're up doing Zoom classes. You can give us a call at Fry's Tatum and Shea, or drop me a line at Fry's Cooking School at frysfood.com.
Awesome. Delicious, Chef O. I can't wait to actually try the dessert that we've made with the panna cotta, and I'm loving the look of that charcuterie board. Thanks for helping keep us in the holiday spirit.
Oh, my pleasure. This is one of my favorite holidays, so happy Halloween to everybody.